Todd Blanche has been sitting before the Senate Judiciary Committee seeking confirmation to become Attorney General of the United States. He's currently acting Attorney General. And at the same time, Blanche's Department of Justice is facing questions over records tied to the Epstein files. New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres says the DOJ is withholding unredacted documents his office needs to continue investigating Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch on behalf of survivors. In a June 30th letter to Blanche, Torres warned that every day those records remain out of reach could make a future prosecution more difficult. Now, why in the world would Blanche not want to cooperate? Well, on June 9th, as I said, Raul Torres, New Mexico's Attorney General, said he was hopeful that the DOJ would cooperate with his office's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch by providing federal records that have been requested. Speaking with NBC, Torres said that those documents could help New Mexico investigating Epstein in order to help the survivors. Watch this.
To do this, to conduct this investigation, you obviously need materials, you need information. And you have asked, and you referenced this yesterday too, that you've asked the DOJ for unredacted access to the Epstein files, and you still do not have it. Why do you think that is?
Well, we're working through a process that it's called the 2E process. It's complicated, but the bottom line is there is a longstanding practice of federal law enforcement and state law enforcement collaborating, coordinating, sharing information. We have engaged the Department of Justice. We are still waiting for that access. It is frustrating. I'll tell you that it is hindering our ability to move this investigation forward at the pace that I would like.
As of July 15th, it has been 2 weeks since Torres sent a letter to Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche accusing the DOJ of withholding records needed to continue that investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's ranch. Torres says those records still have not been provided. In this letter, Torres warned that any delay will make further future prosecutions even more difficult than they might be. He wrote, quote, without complete and prompt access to relevant unredacted records held by the United States Department of Justice, survivors of serious criminal conduct at Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico are being denied justice, unquote. He continued, quote, every day that the U.S. DOJ withholds these records, the foundation upon which a New Mexico prosecution could be built erodes. Witnesses relocate and become unreachable. Memories already strained by years of trauma fade further, unquote. After Torres' letter became public, a DOJ spokesperson responded that the agency had already provided a substantive response to New Mexico's request. Saying, quote, the DOJ subsequently responded last month to requests from the New Mexico Attorney General's office. The DOJ reiterates that it welcomes New Mexico undertaking additional investigation of the Zorro Ranch and stands ready to provide necessary assistance with New Mexico's investigation, unquote. Well, then what's the problem? Provide more records. Saying that you've provided substantive materials doesn't mean that you provided all of the substantive materials. And we have no reason to take the DOJ at face value because since the very beginning, first Pam Bondi and then Todd Blanche have made it clear that their main goal is to delay release of the Epstein files. In fact, their main goal is never to release the Epstein files because they want to protect some powerful people that may be actually mentioned in them. The best way to support what we're doing is to like and share this video. It's easy and it helps more people find us. And be sure to subscribe for more coverage and updates. Thanks for watching. On July 15th, Blanche appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee for his confirmation hearing. And during the hearing, Senator Dick Durbin questioned Blanche about his department's handling of the Epstein files and the government's obligations to transparency. Watch this.
Let me talk to you for a moment about the survivors who are in the room. There are 10 individuals who were exploited and abused by Mr. Epstein. They are here today. None of them have had a chance to speak to anyone in the department or FBI, though they've asked repeatedly. So can I get your word under oath that within the next 30 days, you will personally sit down with these 10 victims and hear their case in terms of what needs to be done by the Department of Justice?
Chairman, I appreciate them being here today. I also have somebody from my office who's spent her entire career working on cases like Mr. Epstein's. She's in charge of our task force investigating human trafficking. She's available to talk to them.
She can sit right next to you. She can sit right next to you when you meet with these survivors.
I have never said I will not meet with survivors.
Will you meet with these 10 survivors? I'm asking you on the record.
If they have lawyers, as you know, I'm prohibited from meeting directly with them. I have met with counsel for survivors, as has many people in the Department of Justice, over 30. But if they are represented by counsel, we will work with their counsel. If they don't have a lawyer, I will certainly make arrangements to make sure the right people at the Department of Justice meet with them. Absolutely.
Will you get it done within the next 30 days that each of these survivors?
I will get it done today, if that's necessary. I mean, my point is there's somebody here who can meet with them today, get their information, and arrange to meet with them.
I think you ought to be in the room.
Pardon me?
I think you ought to be in the room because you ought to hear this. You have singular responsibility for these files.
That is a man who has absolutely no interest in meeting with Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Why? Because he doesn't care about Jeffrey Epstein's victims. You know who he went out of his way to meet with? For 2 days in a room with her lawyer? Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, rapist and sex trafficker of girls and young women, Ghislaine Maxwell. Todd Blanche voluntarily sat in a room with that fucking monster for 2 days, while he has for years now ignored Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein's victims. In fact, Blanche was so taken with Ghislaine Maxwell that he had her transferred to a minimum security prison where he greenlit her getting favorable treatment. Ghislaine Maxwell gets treated in that minimum security prison better than any other convicted felon there. Why? Why is Todd Blanche so dedicated to Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, while time after time he makes it clear that he doesn't care about the horrific pain and trauma Ghislaine Maxwell inflicted upon those victims? As the New Mexico Attorney General continues to make clear, Todd Blanche and his DOJ is stonewalling to avoid allowing the New Mexico AG to investigate Epstein's crime and anything that may have occurred at Epstein's Zorro Ranch. This is unacceptable. And again, it just makes it obvious that Todd Blanche is trying to protect Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and others who may have been or indeed are mentioned perhaps hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million times in the Epstein files. You know who I'm talking about. Once again, Todd Blanche is proving that he is not the Attorney General of the United States of America. He is, as he has been and will continue to be, Donald Trump's personal defense attorney. Please take a second to like and share the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Mary Trump Media channel. Thanks for watching.